Hi, welcome students. I know you're all now just wondering about what's the next stage, what you need to do, and I know some of you are struggling to understand what AWS is and how does it actually work, um, so to say. So I'm making this video just to show you guys how to set up the security groups, and also to show you on my side what it looks like from the instance running perspective. I hope you guys are enjoying this path or this course so far, as I know I'm introducing a lot of things to you, but this is also just to enhance your career going forward when you leave university, right? So I think the first thing what we're going to look at is, if you look at you guys are now by static sites, right? So I think this is where everybody now started wondering what needs to happen in order to get this working, right? And in your case, you understand now it's not about seeing the local host, it's about your IP address, right, of your instance. So I'm just going to demonstrate that to you. So what I'll do is follow the same step. So I am gonna go to my instance. You can see there's my instance running, right, and there's the IP address. So I'm going to copy that IP address, as you can see here, and you will see at the bottom here, here's the security groups. I think my face is in the way, but you will just see at the bottom there it says launch wizard and view outbound rules. So when I click on that, it will show me the outbound rules. So there it will show me that the launch wizard, all protocols, everything, that's what it does. It allows me to do that. But we need to configure that, because if we look at inbound rules, outbound rules meaning that is when you need to go outside. So when the instance needs to go outside the cloud instance, it needs to reach a certain page or a certain site, and that's where it needs to download and get the updates. But if you look at the inbound rules, I click on the inbound rules, you will see that it shows port 22. Now this tells you that SSH is allowed. That's why you can SSH from your instance, from outside from your PC or your laptop to the instance in the cloud, because port 22 is allowed is allowed on the rule. So this is where we will play around and set up more rules. That's to allow port 80 and 443 so that your static site can work. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my other screen, and I'm going to start up Putty, because we need Putty, right? So I'm going to go to Putty, and what I'm going to do is I need to copy um, that public IP and paste it here, right? So remember, I'm doing this, and you can see that there's port 22, and if I go back to our other screen, you will see the port 22, right? So that means that it's allowed for SSH. So I'm just trying to make you understand why we're using port 22. Right, so when I say connect, I can't connect yet. I need to add the our little authorization private key. So when I look for the private key, find it, and say open. And when you say open, it will ask me two things. First, ask me to accept the certificate agreement, and then the second one, it would ask me to log in. Right? We'll see what happens. Okay, waiting and waiting. Oh, connection timeout. Let's just see. The instance stopped. Everything is fine there. Maybe it's Putty. See if I'm still connected. Oh, it could be that the network just switched over because it's after midnight. So let's try again. Paste that. And we go to SSH, auth, browse, Docker open, let's open. There we go. You see, now it's showing that there's a key or something needed. So we say yes to that, and then we say Ubuntu. Right, and now we're logging into our instance. Right, so I think the next thing what I need to do is copy this command that you guys had to copy and run. Okay, so I'll do that next. Okay, so as you can see, there's my instance. I'm logged in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this command, which is that part here, copy it and run it. And as you can see, it's downloading, and it says Nginx is running. This is what you probably saw earlier in that. So what I said, then I said is Control C, and then you should exit the command, right? So I think the next step would be we need to look at running the static site. So now we're going to do that, and by doing this, it will show us we're going to use a normal port. We're not going to have a default port, and we're just going to run this normal static site. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to paste that and run. Now we just started the instance. You can see that it's something similar to that. So it's showing you that it's in the attached mode, and the static site is running. Now we're going to do docker port static site. When you do docker port static site, it shows me what port range is available. And now this is the part where I know some of you have been struggling. So this is where we will configure the security group to allow for port 80 and 443 to be accessible. While in this case, it looks like it's trying to run that custom port there. So we'll probably have to put in that port range if that's the case, or we have to in this case, this is port 80, so it's got triple H. This is the other one when you run it as that. But this is just to view it and showing that it's running there, and it will open up in your browser. So, well, to see that, if that would work, you need to create a security group. So what we'll do is we'll switch over to our other screen, and we'll go to, let's make it bigger. So we'll go to security groups, as you can see at the bottom. So click on security groups, and then you will see the list of groups loading. Right, so there's always a default security group, and then there's these others. That's the launch wizard when you install things. If you click on each group, you will see its rules. So if I think that is to enlarge it. No, that's not. So I click on that, it shows me the rules. So there's the rules. That's the default rules. Now I've configured this earlier to see if it will work for port 18443. Right? If I look at this rules here, it just says port 22, which is the launch wizard. And if I look at this one here, probably another security rule, because this is probably another instance that I run, which is also port 22. So if you go to default, then if these rules weren't here, you can just say edit inbound rules, right? And then this is where you would add your rules. So by default, none of this would be there. So if I remove this, this is the screen that you would see when you get to your security, when you get to your inbound rules. So what you do then is you say add rule. You can either say custom TCP, because remember, if we look at our options here, it says 32769. So 32769 is what we want to access via normal HTTP to see if our site is running. So 32769. So what we need to do is we can either put it as a custom TCP, and let's see if we can do that. So if we say custom TCP, we give it a range, and we say it should be 32.769, and then it should be anywhere. So any IP should be able to reach that port, right? You can give a description. You can say it's Nginx, localhost, and you could say Docker, just to give it a description. And then you can also say HTTP, that you know it's HTTP traffic. And you can copy that, and then you add another rule, and you say also custom TCP, and the other one is 32.768. And you could also say that you want it to be anywhere, and press the same rule and just say it's HTTPS. Right. And when you're done, you say save rules. Now what it's doing now, it's creating those rules. And when I now try to run my instance or to view it in the browser, I should be able to see it because these are the rules I added for inbound. So if I go to open up a new tab and I had to type, make this smaller for you so you can see. So if I had to type, first of all, let's see my IP address of my instance. So let's go back to instances. And click on instance. And you can see here the IP address. That's the internal IP address and that's the public. So I think we need to look at a public one. So if we take the public one and we paste that, and we say just hit it just so, enter, and we try to connect, and then we see what happens. Because obviously it won't connect because that's the normal, that port, we didn't allow port 80. Remember, we blocked it. That's what you want to see. But if you wanted to see if your rule that you added, which is 769, and you run that, and because you added the rule, it should allow you now to access your console, unless we chose the wrong IP, but we allowing 32.769. So that should surely go through. Just double check everything. Okay, we just checked everything now and we saw that the security group that belongs to this instance is called launch wizard. So the default one we configured would have not worked because we need to go to launch wizard. Right, so let's enlarge that, and then we find this launch wizard. This is the one, right? So let's edit those rules because we configured the default one, but the default one is not tied to our instance. So let's say edit, and we add a rule, and we say custom TCP, and we say it should be 32.769, and we can also say custom where it needs to go. You see this is also the security groups, so this is more in detail, but what we say we want it to be anyway, right? And then we say also, we'll just use that again, HTTPS, so HTTP, and that should be Docker. Okay, and then we add another rule and we say 32.768. That's the other port, and that should also be anyway, and that should be HTTPS Docker. Right, and then we say save changes. We could also preview it if you wanted to, but we're just doing a save changes. This video has been 15 minutes. Hopefully this 15 minutes will solve the problem for us. So these are rules, right? Because it's under that security group. So if we refresh this, oh, the IP is wrong. So go back to instance. right? And we copy that one because remember we need the public IP. That was the private one I tried, so we take that away, paste that one, hit enter, and wait for it. There we go, working. There is a Docker instance running. It's loading slowly, but that means that the security rule we applied gives us hello world Docker. So that was 15 minutes. So if I had to do the other one, which we made, if we look at our screen, we see 443 is 32768. Right, so we go back to our main and we do 768. Right, hit enter, and that's now will now change to secure kind of link, and that means it's HTTPS. We'll just wait for it and see if it works, because we allow that custom port. And then you can do the same for the others, like port 80443. As you can see, that took too long, so let's do this. Let's do HTTPS, add that, and so that should allow us to get to it. Connection refuse. Right, so HTTPS is being refused, probably for security reasons. Wonder why, because if I go to our rules, let's see our rules again. Yeah, it should be open, it should be available, but it could be there is other proxies and things working and things like that on Amazon that's blocking us, right? But as you can see, if you do the normal HTTPS, which is 9, so there you can see there, it loads Docker, right? So it's loading our Docker as a normal static site. There we go. Right. Okay, so going back to where we at, so we could at least successfully open up port 80, which is our local host. And then if we look at running it as that, then we need to make sure that we allow that as well to be open. So if we specify that, then obviously it would have to show port 80, 88 if we do that. So let's say we specify custom port. So in this case, we didn't specify custom port, we specified the 32769, and we got that working, and we could see that through our instance. So if I bring this over here, you would see that there's hello world Docker. Just bring it over. Sorry. Right. Here you can see it. There's hello world Docker, and it's running on that port, right? Obviously it would say not secure because it's a normal HTTP. But if we wanted the HTTPS, then it could have worked, but because there's no certificate and things like that, we're not going to do that as long as we know that we got our static site working. Right? Thank you guys.